Girler. Well, hey, cabin crew. Welcome to the Conversation Cabin's Halloween podcast, Phantasma. And I am your fearless host. Are we all ready for a fucking rad time tonight? We are going to blow the speakers off this bitch. Let me tell you, I have an amazing lineup of guests for all of you. And I cannot thank them enough for joining me. We're going to hear some amazing, scary stories, scariest encounters, and of course, go through a little bit of Halloween memorabilia, trivia questions, and more. So, before we go into the induction, you know how it goes. Halloween special podcast, Phantasma, starts now.
A family says something crashed into their backyard pub, enough to call 911, saying they saw creatures. The beast of Ray Road. Jeffrey Dunn.
And tomorrow, a man named Ted Bundy was going to die in Florida's electric chair.
They do exist, but they don't exist. They keep telling us they don't exist, but they block every opportunity.
If I wanted to kill somebody, I'd take this book and beat you to death with it, and I wouldn't feel a thing. I heard of the Mothman.
Did you kill your mother?
I haven't killed anyone. No.
But those 28 girls hospitalized after playing with Ouija boards at their school in Colombia.
The Conversation Cabin podcast. Well, hello, ladies and gents, boys and ghouls. Welcome to tonight's live Halloween special podcast, Phantasma. And as you know, I'm your fearless host, Farrah, from the Conversation Cabin podcast, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you all joining us tonight. We've got a rad show lined up for you, filled with spine-tingling stories, eerie encounters, and a whole lot of Halloween spirit. So let's get on with the evening. First, I'm going to invite all my guests on one by one, but let's do the introductions the way they should be done. So our first guest tonight is none other than Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are. Now, if it's weird and unusual, he's all over it. Kevin has a knack for uncovering the most bizarre stories and phenomena that will make your skin crawl. So brace yourself for some truly hair-raising tales from Kevin. Kevin, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much for being here.
Perfect. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I always love talking to you, so.
Well, the feeling is mutual, as you know, Kevin.
Well, that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
I got a little blushy too, so. Okay. Shoo. All right. Next up, we have Stacy. Now, Stacy started out as one of our listeners, but has since become one of my dearest friends. Stacy is a mistress of the night, a witchy woman per se. She's bringing all of her gifts tonight and then some. So expect some enchanting stories that will leave you all spellbound. So Stacy, thank you for joining us. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, even the hospital could not keep this witch away from her fellow friends, your fearlessness. I had to be here. I had to be here.
Which I was going to make sure I let all of the listeners know out there that Stacy is actually, yes, speaking from her hospital bed. So let's all keep Stacy in our prayers. She's having a surgery tomorrow. But like she said, I mean, all of us cabin crew, we're worth a little time to chit chat and make her feel better with a lot of our stories and you all being there to hear her story. So again, thank you, Stacy, for coming on. I really appreciate it. And let's move on to an up-and-coming video creator and filmmaker who is making waves in the industry. He's a Stanley Kubrick in the making, if you will, capturing one apparition at a time and bringing it raw to your screens. Please welcome AJ from Ghost Vexers Paranormal. AJ, are you there?
I am here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it is always a pleasure to have you. And did you like my little Stanley Kubrick definition there?
I did. I really did. I would really hope so, but let's one step at a time, I guess.
Hey, well, you're on the right track there, buddy. So, and then last, well, not last, but I have next is Arnie from El Hauntino. Now, if you don't know Arnie from Instagram, first of all, you need to go add him right now, because if you want to see some jaw-dropping paranormal evidence, Arnie, aka El Hauntino on Instagram, is your man. So he captures some amazing evidence, will leave even the biggest skeptics questioning their beliefs. So Arnie, how are you, my friend?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
There you go. Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Oh, I am so happy that you're finally on the show.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it. I'm pretty well acquainted with everybody here.
Yes, we are all a very good group of friends these days. I mean, I cannot tell you, our group is like 30, 50 large of all of us that are supporting each other, our creations, our podcasts. So Arnie, thank you so much for coming on. And then last, but certainly not least. Now, I have some people that you have not heard on my podcast yet. This is a fellow podcaster who I've recently had the pleasure of getting to know. And alongside her will be her husband, Jeremy. Together, they host Total Conundrum. But let's invite Tracy and Jeremy from Total Conundrum Podcast. Hello, you both are there.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, awesome. I'm so glad that you guys are here. How are you doing this evening?
Good. How are you?
Doing fucking excellent. We're going to have such a great show, and thank you for coming on. Now, I wanted to make sure that I brought you guys on before I tell everyone this. So if you have not added Total Conundrum onto your podcast playlist, please go do that now. They actually cover mysteries, the unexplained. They have a great banter back and forth. So please add them on. And I cannot wait for you to hear all of your stories, Jeremy and Tracy. So thank you so much again for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having us, Farrah.
Of course, of course. All right. So what we're going to do now that we got the introductions out of the way. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. We have a special guest on, and I don't know how I forgot, but it was kind of last minute. So I'm reading my script here. But I brought her in because I think it's going to be, how do I want to say it? It's going to be a jaw-dropping, awe-dropping story because my daughter is here tonight, Sierra, and I believe her fiance, Zach, is here as well. And they're going to be sharing a very terrifying experience that they had. And I thought, what better time to do it than the Halloween special event? So, Sierra, are you there?
I don't know how you forgot about me.
Because it was last minute.
I came from the womb, Mom. Actually, Zachariah is at work, so it's just me. Hello.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw his name.
He's in the room. He's in the room, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yes, Sierra is my youngest daughter. And like I said, she's going to be joining us. I just remembered it last minute. I was like, if we're trying to drudge up some scary stories, this is one actually that I have not heard about from her. So this is going to be all new to me, which I yelled at her at first because she didn't tell me when it happened. But yes, we're all going to hear it at the same time. So you'll get my first reaction
I actually have two.
On that craziness.
Two little, like,
yes.
stories.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is first I want to start out with some trivia just to get everybody's creative Halloween juices flowing. Now, as you can see, everyone can chat. So that's where you're going to put up your answers. And you at home, I want you to play along as well if you have everybody around in your little living room or kitchen and you're listening. So let me bring up. So what we're going to do first is some movie trivia. You're going to have 10 seconds on the clock. And of course, most of you that have been on my show before, you know that I do have like a little Jeopardy timer. So of course, that will be up for everybody to have their thinking caps on. So let me get to the first question. All right. So this will be an easy one. In the movie The Shining, what famous line repeatedly appears in a sinister fashion? So, of course, 10 seconds on the clock, go. All right. So most of you got it. Now, here's the thing. It gave me one answer, but to be honest, I agree with most of you all in the room. So it told me, here's Johnny. But then Red Rom was used as well. So I'm going to give points to everyone for that one because I think that really it's both. So good job, guys. All right, now here is your second question. Which film is known for the quote, "I see dead people"? I'll repeat it. What film is known for the quote, "I see dead people"? Ready? And go. And you guys got it right. It is The Sixth Sense. So yes, everybody, great job. I knew you would all get that one. I mean, that's like a given. So here's one that's going to be a little harder. Maybe not, but I don't know if a lot of people know this movie, but maybe they do. Who directed the horror film Get Out? Of course, Jordan Peele. Wow, a lot more people knew that than I thought they would. But so that's great. Awesome. We are in the mode right now. All right, let's see if we can get this one. Now, if you can get that one, then you can definitely get this one. What is the name of the demon-possessed girl in The Exorcist? What's the character's name in The Exorcist of the demon-possessed girl? First and last name. And the answer was yes, you all got the first name right. It is Reagan, and the last name, McNeil. So, Stacy, you got it, girl. I love yours, Kevin, though. My mother, is that like true? Was she demon possessed at one time?
All the time.
All right.
All the time.
Trust me, I know that feeling because my mother was too. All right. Here is your next question. We only got 2 more to go. So, what year was the original Halloween movie released? Go. The year was 1978. AJ, you got it right.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Good job, guys. All right. And the last question for tonight. Let's see. Which film features a family tormented by supernatural occurrences after moving into a new house built on an Indian burial ground? Wow, a lot of different answers here. But let's see. Stacy, Kevin, who else? Let me see. Anybody else? Stacy, Kevin, Tracy, Arnie. Yep, you guys got it. Poltergeist. So good job. Awesome, guys. All right. So we're going to move on from trivia. Before we get into our stories, first, I want to do a little bit of Halloween memorabilia. So let me start with who do I want to pick? How about Arnie? So Arnie, my question for you is, what is your favorite Halloween costume that you dressed up as when you were little?
I'm going to have to say Stormtrooper, man. I was pretty stoked when I got to be a Stormtrooper.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. And was there any particular reason why you picked it, or was it just something that you liked? Was it as simple as that?
No, I mean, well, I grew up on Star Wars and I was knee deep in it, so I wanted to be a Stormtrooper. And I was happy when I got it. This is like in the 80s, man, right in the 80s or 79, 80. Long time ago.
Yeah, but you know what? Stormtroopers, even when I watch stuff today of like the newest Star Wars movies or the series that they have out, the Stormtroopers will always be like one of my favorite costumes of a character in like a sci-fi movie. It's just badass. It never gets old.
Yeah, I thought it was a shit.
Yep, definitely. All right. So let's see. I'm going to go to Tracy. So Tracy, when you were younger, what was your favorite Halloween costume and why did you pick it?
Oh boy. I would say probably the Care Bears because my grandma made it for me.
Oh, and what was your favorite Care Bear? Because I loved Care Bears.
I had the Friendship Bear, so that was the one that I always went to. The one with the little flower on its tummy.
Oh, okay. So that's not the lion, right? Because that was my favorite, was the lion.
Braveheart.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for remembering. Showing our age. Good Lord.
Yeah, don't do that. We're only 20, remember?
Sorry. Yeah. I'll be like my dad. He used to always say every single birthday it was 29, 29, 29.
I like that.
I love it too. I wish we could Benjamin Button back the other way.
Right?
So let's go to your hubby, Jeremy, then. So, Jeremy, when you were younger, what was your favorite Halloween costume and why did you pick it?
Probably Superman.
Oh, hell yeah. And was it just because Superman, I'm not trying to say your age, of course, but is that when Superman back in the day, Christopher Reeves, that was the shit back then? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, well, it's pretty much the coolest character out there, so I had to be it, you know?
Right, exactly. And it still is. Out of all the Marvel people, I really think Superman is always going to be the strongest and the best. But that's me.
Yeah, and I had the body type for it too, so.
Oh, okay. You're going to have to share some pictures of that on your Insta. I want to see that then. All right.
I'll have to toss in here, and definitely has to be Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. Just saying, Linda Carter's Wonder Woman.
Okay, and is that the one that you dress up? Is that your pick for Halloween costume when you were smaller?
No, that was the one I wanted.
Okay. Well, then tell me while you're on the line, tell me then, what was your favorite Halloween costume when you were little and why?
The greatest Halloween costume that I had was a bunch of grapes. My mom blew up 150 balloons. She sewed a leaf hat. She sewed the stalk, and I remember sitting there with her as she was doing it, and kind of being a little bit of a shit because I wanted to be something scary, and until I look back on that costume and realize every bit of love that was in every one of those balloons. It'll always be my favorite. Always.
I like it. I like it. And let's see, we got AJ. AJ, what was your favorite Halloween costume and why did you pick it?
My favorite was being El Hauntino. No.
What?
No, honestly, it was Darth Vader for sure.
Oh, so yeah, that's a good pick. I'll have to agree with you on that. I mean, I never dress up as Darth Vader. I'm just saying that's a great pick for a Halloween costume. Yeah, how old were you when you did that one, AJ?
Man, I had to be between 7 and 9, I think.
Yeah, you're about, yeah. I love that. Darth Vader will always be one of my favorite characters too, along with the Stormtroopers. Great choice. Great choice.
I think I was a Stormtrooper one year too.
You have to be if you got to be a Darth Vader.
Yep.
Because that was like hand in hand almost. Awesome. All right. And then Sissy, Sierra, what was your favorite Halloween costume when you were little?
Mine was the butterfly costume you made me when I was like, I think 3 or 4. And I just remember being so excited and you not letting me in the room because you were working on it like all the time, like with puffy paint on cardboard for the wings and a pillow that you like stitched together to make it look like a butterfly around my waist. So that was my favorite.
We will have to put a picture of that up on our Instagram, Sierra, so everybody can see her because she was the cutest little yellow butterfly in the world. And I did her face all painted and she had these little the little antennas. I'm
planning on doing it for one of the girls, probably Sunny, because I was planning on doing it for Luna, but she always had something she was really interested in every year for Halloween. But just like Zachariah mentioned in the chat, he was like, she always talks about it because I really do always talk about it.
I loved making that costume.
I know you did. That's what made me love it more because I know how hard you worked on it.
And I was like, she was not allowed to come near the door. Her dad was like guarding the door at that time. So it was kind of funny. And I would have to say I'm not going to really say favorite per se, but it's just one that sticks out so much, and I don't know why. I think because I was almost embarrassed to wear it, but remember back in the 80s when there was the commercials of the fucking California raisins? Yeah, my mom bought me one of those cheap bastards for Halloween. And it was the most embarrassing fucking costume because it was a cheap ass, like you put your head through it and then you just looked like a fat, flat raisin as skinny as I was. It just looked like I was a raisin that was ran over by a truck a couple times. And like, that's it, because she was like such a bitch. So that was mine. So it was quite embarrassing. But anyway, so now I do want to ask, though, because a lot of people were kind of...
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just saying, if you knew my grandma, you would understand.
Yeah, she's just like your mom, probably, Kevin. If that's where I think you're going with that whole exorcist thing, then yeah. So,
well, my mom used to dress me up in some weird ass Halloween costume. So
I think they just did it to like punish us for nothing.
Yeah. One of the earliest ones that I remember for myself was Oscar the Grouch, but I also I've always dressed up as something angry. So, but my Oscar the Grouch, I'd say, would be my favorite because I just put the tin garbage cover over my head and tell people to get away from me. And I think I was like 7 at the time.
Oh, could you imagine a mean little Kevin? A little mean Kevin. That's so cute, though, Kevin. Oh, you need to dredge up a picture of that if you have one. So we are going to start tonight's stories. Now, for all of my guests, we're going to try, if you can, of course, just try to kind of condense it down to like a 20-minute or so story. And of course, it's the right thing to do, even though she said no special treatment, but it's just Stacy's in the hospital, so I think she should go first. So that way, for the rest of the time, if she wants to chill and pass out while she's listening to the rest of us, then she can certainly do that. So Stacy is up first. And Stacy, when you are done with your story, I want you to let everyone know your Instagram handle, where you can be found, of course, so they can make sure that they add you and look at all your crazy things that you go through, because you do experiment with witchiness, or I don't know, how do you want to say it, but you know what I'm trying to say. But go ahead, Stacy. I'm going to give you the floor.
So, yes, I am a practicing kitchen witch. So I put things together with herbs, with plants, with vegetables, fruits that bring health, blessings, love, grounding, that kind of things to those I care about, those I love. And in no way, shape, or form do I ever practice dark magic. It is not for me, and I don't want a part of it. But I'm also a lover of things that are horror. So around, I'm trying to remember the exact year. 2018. I watched a documentary late one night during a night shift, and it was Demon House from Scott Baggins. Ooh, Zach would be mad if he heard me call him Zach. We'll deal it on. We'll blame it on stuff. But Zach Baggins was one of my favorites because he did the Travel Channel, like dark travelers and stuff. And to give you a little background to it, Demon House was what was the set of the that Amon's family's hauntings. The family was believed to been under the different incantations of other people, of those who were doing very evil things. The children were seen walking up walls. The mom was seen just feeding into everything. There was oily substances on the blinds, and just the more that this family lived in the house, the stranger things became. So Zach Baggins, uh, in true fashion as he does, he bought the house because he wanted to do his own supernatural investigation. And he was seen, felt, and along with the whole crew, they started to become affected by this same uh, these same forces. And underneath the staircase in the basement, there was the only place in this cemented basement, there was dirt that was under the stairs. So as they were going through and investigating, they found a fingernail, like a press-on nail. They found all just little girls' underwear, um, just some things that by themselves wouldn't be very sinister, but there were black candles, there was a tin plate, all of the things that point towards a ritual. And it is not a good ritual because it is very focused. It is focused on either one person or a group of people. And Zach had the house demolished because he was terrified that other people may take this evil out of the house. For my birthday this year, uh, my wife and I went to Zach Baggins's Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. And throughout the whole house, the exhibits, it became kind of like a little joke amongst my wife and I, because they would open up the RIP different sections you could go to if you paid a little extra money. And I was always the first one through the door. So we were kind of laughing about it. And then we walked in to one room that was completely dark. And every one of my hairs stood up. And I turned to my wife and I said, "You feel this?" And she's like, "I don't feel anything." They turned on the lights, and it was the staircase from the demon house. And you're right, he actually, it screws with your eyesight. You're told not to look directly at any of the lights that are in that area, and not even directly, like, okay, I'm dumb, I look through the lights, but like just being in the presence of this dirt, of this staircase, um, and me being a skeptic, I couldn't be a skeptic. I felt, I heard, I experienced things through that dirt because it was the actual dirt from the house. And while we were in there, there was a loud banging, and when we turned around, these two women had passed out. They'd hit the floor, and so security had to come and carry them out. So I said a blessing, which I will say now because I am talking about dark forces, dark arts. So as above, so below, as the universe, as within, so without, as the universe, as the soul. May there be light. May there be love. May there be blessings. I can be found at all the witch with the gifts, 666. I love good conversations about anything, and if you ever want to know about my craft, please come with an open mind, and I'll happily share my craft with you.
Wow. Well, first of all, let me say thank you so much for sharing that story, because I know exactly the home that you're talking about. I watched The Demon House, and yes, for any listeners out there, if you do want something to give you a little scary chills, definitely go hunt down The Demon House to watch. It doesn't matter whether you like Zach Bagans or you think he's a fraud or not. I'm just talking about if you want to chill, because even if you're a skeptic, it is still a fascinating story to just listen to. I mean, if you are going to nitpick and critique every paranormal thing, then you shouldn't be watching the paranormal anyway, to be honest, because you have to come to a conclusion sometime when you watch something that something is real and it's being proven to you in some way. There's you just can't constantly say, well, let me see something else. And then if you get shown something else, well, let me see something else. It's just never going to happen, because you gotta believe in it. And just like Stacy says, have an open mind. But I always ask people, well, then if it's not this, then tell me what it is. And guess what? No one can tell me what it is. So I would definitely invite you all to go watch Demon House. And Stacy, let me ask you a question. When you were there at Zach's museum, so since you are someone that dabbles in a craft like that, do you think that and since you don't dabble in the dark part of it, do you think it was something that kind of latched onto you a little bit there to make you kind of feel that like it didn't like you because you were maybe not against the dark, but you're just someone that doesn't play with the dark?
Not only that, but and I sure hope she's listening tonight. My wife Tina, hopefully she's with us tonight. Her and I have such an intense love. We have a good time when we're together, and I think that was another thing, that whatever had been in that house and whatever was in that shrine, that ritualistic shrine, hated our love. It hated the fact that we were there and we were strong within our love. And I was strong within the light, because even walking in to myself, I asked for protection for everybody going into that home. Because as you know, Farrah and Arnie, all of them, you don't disrespect. You don't treat that with you don't make fun of anything from an occult point of view, because we don't know enough about it to be able to say no, it's not real, or to be able to say
Exactly. Exactly. No, I was just saying exactly. I agree with you. And that's, I think, the problem with a lot of paranormal investigators today, like more of like the kid kind of channels on YouTube, is that, when you're doing things for just likes and views and like donations and stuff, you got to respect the spirits. You got to respect the field, because again, you're supposed to be helping all of us who want answers find answers. So I agree with you, Stacy. You definitely have to respect an element, no matter what you think it is. You just don't want anything bad to happen. So thank you again for sharing the story. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Farrah, as always. We have become this little family of support. And again, Tracy and Jeremy, thank you guys so much for opening up and for being a part of this little crew, because I know I love your stories. in all of your offerings. And of course, you, Farrah, I adore you.
It's a beautiful thing. We have a beautiful little coven, right? All right, so let's move on to our next story of the night. And who shall I pick? Let's go with Tracy. So, Tracy, again, is one of the hosts of Total Conundrum podcast. So, Tracy, again, tell us your story. And then when you're finished, just tell everybody where you can be found, your podcast, what days your eps drop, all of that. But you now have the floor.
Hey everyone. Like Farrah said, we are Total Conundrum Podcast. We are fairly new to the game, but we're loving all of the love and support, and being part of this community has been absolutely amazing. I have to say, before I became a part of this group, we were running into a lot of people that were out for themselves and didn't want to help or give advice or anything. So this has been an amazing journey the last few months of getting to know all of you guys. We are available on all platforms, and our episodes drop on Thursdays, and we have a bunch of collabs coming up very soon, which I'm very excited about crossover episodes. And Stacy, thank you so much for the kind words. You've been a great support of us, and we absolutely love you too. So I will kind of just get into my story. Basically, years ago, I worked as a waitress at a local bar in a town in Minnesota. Little town. I don't know if anybody's heard of Northfield, Minnesota or not, but it's a little teeny tiny town just on the outskirts of Northfield called Dundas. And it has a little quaint main street, and there was two bars on the street, and one was on the corner, and that was the one I worked at. It was a very old building, had an upstairs that was apartments. The main level was like the bar, and then the basement was like dirt floor, limestone walls. There's a river right across the street, so you got a lot of conduits for, supernatural energy and stuff. And when I started working there, people would tell me about how it was haunted by a little girl and an old man. And I just kind of, shook it off, whatever. Well, the first time somebody asked me to go down to the basement to switch a keg over, I got halfway down the stairs and I stopped. My hair all stood up on end. And I turned around and I went upstairs and I used the excuse, you know what? I'm just a waitress. I'm not a bartender. I'm not going down there to switch a keg. I felt that uneasy just going halfway down the stairs. And so I stuck to my normal duties, while we were working, bands were playing and stuff. And a little history on this bar. Like I said, it's a really old building. At one point, it used to be like a local grocery store. At another point, it was a bank. And in the bar, they still had the original vault and stuff from the bank. And then over the years, it turned into a bar, and then it's changed hands, and it's been a bar for as long as I remember. But anyway, so we'd hear these little stories and stuff. We'd talk about it when we were closing down at night. So nothing really ever happened while the bands were playing or activity and people were there, like when it was loud. During the day, some patrons would say that they would encounter or see things. But anyway, so it was supposedly haunted by this old man and a little girl. One of the bartenders used to tell me stories all the time about how sometimes a ball would just appear at closing, and she would have to tell the little girl that she had to work. She couldn't take the time to play ball with her. And sometimes she was okay with it. Sometimes she would act out. The owner of the bar, I just recently did a phone interview with her because I wanted a little bit more information on the history and stuff. And she said that a lot of times the jukebox would go off by itself, lights would flicker. A local policeman was driving by the bar one night, and he stopped and went back because he saw somebody's face in the window. And he went back and he could not find anybody. He called the owners, had them come unlock the bar. They walked through the bar. They could not find anybody in the bar. So anyway, long story short, I kept having experiences and feeling things when I was at the bar. And one night I felt uneasy driving home. Just like, it was just a feeling I can't even explain. I just felt like I wasn't alone in my car. And stuff started happening at my house. At the time, my kids were 1 and 3, so they were pretty young. And I would wake up to toys going off in my son's room. I would move these toys out of his room. The next day, they'd be back in his room. I'd put these toys away at night, and I'd wake up in the morning. The toys would be in the middle of his floor. He had this little Tykes engine. So it's like a little toy for kids or little boys or girls to, put together this engine. And if you put it together right, you could turn the key and the engine would rev up. And it had like a little oil can that you would stick in and it'd make a glug glug noise that like you were putting oil into the engine when you assembled it. Well, it wasn't supposed to rev up or anything unless it was all assembled correctly. And that thing was not assembled and was revving on its own. And then, the oil thing was going off, and you actually had to physically take this can and push it into this hole. The oil can was nowhere to be found. So this thing was glugging and doing all this stuff. So I spent about 2 weeks not being able to sleep at night because I was so scared about what was going on, in my son's room. And then one night I heard a plastic grocery bag, like crumpling and making all this noise. And I was too scared to get up and see what was going on. And the next morning, that engine was in the middle of the floor again with this plastic bag next to it with a child's handwriting. And I can't remember what the name was, but it was a little girl's name written on with permanent marker on this bag. And my children were 1 and 3. They weren't old enough to be able to write, let alone spell. So I called a girlfriend of mine and told her everything that was going on. She came over and saged the house, told me I had to stand in the, kind of in the center of the house, explain to this little girl that she couldn't stay there. I couldn't be her mom. I couldn't be her, whatever. And that she needed to go back to her, home or whatever. So anyway, that night I did that. The night before I went back to work, I did that. My ride to work, I had that uneasy feeling again. And then I got to work and I was so shook up. I basically quit my job that night. And then I never had anything happen again in the house. So kind of crazy, but I did talk to the current owner of the bar, who was a bartender when I worked there. And she said that she lives above the bar now. They've turned it into a house. And she has little things happen. They pretty much coexist with each other. She'll have their hallway light turn on and off on occasion, but she made a room in their space that's dedicated for the spirits to have their own space. And then as for the basement, there's a room down there that they keep the door closed at all times. And she tells people, as long as you don't open that door, things are okay. Things don't happen, and she said only once has that door been opened since she started taking over the bar. And but this bar also, I forgot to mention this, the Jesse James gang from way back when actually robbed that bank that used to be in that space before going to Northfield. And in Northfield, the townspeople united and fought James gang, and they actually defeated a few of the members of the James gang. They killed a couple and injured a couple. So there's a lot of like old history in this town, in that area, and in that building. So But yeah, that's my little spooky story for tonight.
That is crazy, Tracy. Oh my God. And for how you explained it, it really goes to show when people say, you have to get along with the spirit and to respect the space, and how things started to die down when they got their own space. Maybe that's just all they wanted in the beginning.
Right. She said that they've had people come in and want to investigate because both bars on that street have things that occur. But both of them I'm friends with because I went to high school with them, and both of them denied the people. And they're like, you know what? Things aren't happening since we've taken over and kind of given them their own, So she's like, I'm not going to let people come in and upset them because she doesn't go into those rooms. Everything has been fine. They'll have little things happen here and there, but it's more playful. And,
Right. And
like
some of it could be residual though, too,
Correct. But yeah, when you first invited me and Jeremy on to do this was one of the first stories I thought of. And there was an article in one of the local newspapers years ago, and I was trying to find the article and I couldn't find it. So I actually did a recorded call with the owner of the bar and wanted to get a little bit more information from her. So it was kind of fun to dig into it because I didn't know that Jesse James the gang had actually gone to that bank and robbed it. Oh, and then I was telling you about that safe in the lower area of the bar. So it was kind of just like a sunken area where there was like pool tables and dartboards and stuff. I would have to clean. That was my designated area to clean at the end of the shift. And I would clean that thing so freaking fast because I was always so uneasy. There was something about that being near that safe that just made my skin crawl. But it did bother me when I was working or if I was there playing darts on Dart League, only at night when I was cleaning.
I wonder if that has anything to do with the Jesse James kind of history, that it used to be a bank and it got robbed. I mean, granted, it's not the exact same safe, of course, but it's still a safe. So being that sometimes spirits linger around, maybe that's just, if they like to rob back then, they still like to rob in the spirit world. So
yeah, maybe. But yeah, it was kind of a crazy thing. I'd never had anything like attached to me, and I was glad that it was, my girlfriend told me to do that and it worked. So I've always, ever since then, I kind of shut myself off a little bit because I grew up in a haunted house and I've had a lot of experiences throughout the years, but I kind of shut myself off to the whole supernatural thing. So I'm like, I don't ever want anything to attach to me again. But now, I've been opening myself back up more because there's just so much wonder and, in that whole world. What's
right.
beyond the veil? I want to know,
No, I'm right there with you. And that's what I had to come to learn, was that even though I had a scary experience living where I used to live, it helped me understand more. It helped answer some of my questions. And now it kind of gave me the fire to keep researching more and more. And the more stories that I do on my podcast of the paranormal and the strange, it's almost like you're kind of putting puzzle pieces together. But just like you said, you have to be open to it because, there's just, as you can see, it bothers me. Not skeptics. I shouldn't say that skeptics bother me as a whole, but it just bothers me when people aren't open-minded, yet they watch it and then they criticize everything. It's like, but you have no idea what you're missing out, because it is awesome when you can communicate, with the spirit. It's just amazing.
Well, when I was watching yours and Courtney's live that you did in front of the cave, I was just listening to it. I wasn't actually watching it. And it was funny because there was things that I heard that I don't think that you guys caught from just listening to it on my AirPods. Like, you had asked how many spirits were there, and I swore, I still have to go back and re-listen to it, but I swore it said 13.
You need to, whenever you have time, Tracy, I would be dying to know.
because I know right where the point is, because you were asking how many spirits were there, and I swore I heard like a man's voice say 13.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
I wasn't watching it, but Courtney was telling me about all the lights that were popping up or like going off that people were seeing on the recording that you didn't see while you were there. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what an experience. That show was incredible.
Oh, thank you. I loved that cave. And I mean, I got to know it so much that I even knew when they would come out of the cave. I'd call it every night, 8:30 p.m., 9:30 p.m., because you'd sit in front of the cave and you could almost, like, if you shined like a flashlight into the cave, you could see like spirits flying out. Like it was just amazing. You could like literally watch them. They would just be flooding out of there like they were going out into the night to
Yeah,
play. It was very strange.
I have to be honest, I would probably run.
I trust me, not that I mean, I'll be honest, not that I wasn't scared, but it was like I've always asked for this. So I went right
Right.
in the middle of that damn cave, lights off, and I would sit there and do EVP recordings or use the spirit talker or the spirit box, because I was like, well, if I'm gonna love it, then I'm going to have to jump right in and love it. I can't do it half-ass. So I would go in there by myself. And yes, I would constantly think aliens were going to come abduct me when I was in that fucking cave. Trust
You're
me.
a brave woman.
I told everybody I was even planning, like when I would go in there, I was so freaked out in my head. I would be planning, okay, now when Jake gets home at 5:30, okay, he'll come up first, go in the kitchen and see I'm not there. And then he'll go outside to the back, and then he'll walk in the cave, and hopefully he could see my footprints. And then I mean, it was like, because I was so scared, like, is he going to be able to find me, or am I just going to be like a poof gone, you know? So yeah, it was fucking terrifying, I'll have to be honest. But thank you so much for sharing your story. What an awesome story. Oh, I love
for
it.
inviting me to do so.
Oh, it was, and definitely thank you, because I know for some people it takes a lot for them to share their stories. So I have a lot of listeners out there that I know had stories. And I want you to know this is a safe place to tell your story. There's no judgments. I mean, we welcome it. We believe you. I just want to hear you, and I want to walk you through it and know everything about it, because you do have a paranormal family, like right here with all of us. But all right, so let's move on. So I'm going to pick Arnie. Arnie, go ahead and you have the floor. Tell us your scariest experience or encounter. Go ahead.
Hey man. Okay, so I won't keep you here all night, but I'll tell you one of my rather one of my worst experience. Well, I started into paranormal a while ago, but I wasn't like, I would find one of the most haunted bed and breakfasts off the East Coast, and I'd try to book the most haunted room. But it didn't get serious till I went to Florida, and I joined up with this crew, Haunted South Florida. Actually, that's when I met AJ. AJ was there at the investigation with me when they asked me into the group. So when I started messing around with them, you know, the paranormal really started coming on strong. Like, I started really seeing shit and getting really good recordings, and you know, it just started getting, you know, really, I started really getting into it. So at one time I did my friend of mine, Callie, she found this park in Tamarack, Florida. It's called Sunshine Park. And I went there with her one night, and we lasted like maybe 6-7 minutes. and we got attacked by these big ass mosquitoes and shit. It was really bad. But during that 6 minutes, I took some pictures, and I didn't really know what I found. I mean, I went there the week after that, and I stayed around there by myself before it got dark. And when I was getting so much activity, man, all around that whole park, man. My spirit box was just going nuts. And at one time in the middle, I thought I was getting bit by a mosquito in my head, and it started hitting harder and then whap 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 on both sides of my head, like smacked the shit out of me. I wasn't really in disbelief, but I know what happened, and I didn't want to like be too scared because I didn't, I was like, wow, what the fuck, this thing just smacked the shit out of me. And I said, who did that? And it said it was me through my spirit box. I got videos of it. That, man, I still stayed. I didn't like run home or anything, but I had a couple incidents being followed home from there. I had to like repeatedly sage bomb my room and shit, and yeah, the Tamarack was a pretty rough part, really pretty rough time for me. Then I went to Casadega, Florida, with Callie. Me and Callie went, and man, I got so much evidence from this place, man. It's unbelievable. And being in there, there was this one woman. She kept, I don't know, she was like toying with me the whole time. Callie caught on to it. Callie was very skeptic of her. It's a town of mediums. It's like the medium capital of the world. And I just remember she was just. I think that place is a cult. I think all the mediums there. I think it's some kind of cult. They have this temple in the middle there that she brought us to. I won't get into any of that stuff, but there was every door on the whole house was a different color, had a different symbol. It was, it was after reviewing a lot of the evidence from that place, the woman, I think I showed you guys it. So the glowing eyes, weird ears and shit. And a couple of her friends that were also mediums there, they all had these glowing eyes. I posted a lot of that stuff on my Instagram. But yeah, man, so I got out of Florida. I'm back in New Jersey. I linked up with Scaredy Cat Paranormal. Sean, he's a good dude. And we just did a couple of investigations. Did a private one and a couple good ones. And I actually got a really good picture of a face from a little boy. His name was Tyler Burr. He was the resident ghost. I got something going down in the basement with him. And, I'm just an investigator. I like doing this. I like to try to get the skeptics. I can't stand the skeptics. And I know what I saw. Everyone has their own opinion. And nobody's an expert in the paranormal. I don't think can't call yourself an expert because there's so much that we don't know and that we never will. I wasn't gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm just giving you guys a quick rundown of. I'm not gonna keep these on, but I like to get my evidence. I like to show it, and if I get some believers out of it, that's what I like to do.
And again, let me just tell everyone, if you want to see some great paranormal evidence, you need to go to Arnie's Instagram channel, El Hauntino. So it's LEL and then space HAUNTINO. Some of the captures some of the pictures, Arnie, that you've gotten are like terrifying, like skull faces. I mean, they're just weird. But if you're one that's like on the fence, I love Arnie's outlook because just like he said, there's no perfect person in the paranormal, and the ones that are in it, we're not done learning, and we're not going to be ever done trying to prove it. But if you want to open up your mind to some things that you want to hear, some of the EVPs he's caught, some of the spirit box sessions he's done, I mean, if you at least want to have an open mind to see and listen to it, listen to it. But then again, if you don't think it's a spirit that you're looking at, that you're hearing, etc., then I want you to message me and you tell me what it is then. We got that? That's going to be a deal. All right. So thank you very much, Arnie, for sharing your story. I messaged in the chat room, when you start getting physically attacked as an investigator, you know you are getting into that world. And it's a world that, I mean, I love trying to get in it, but it's still scary. So be careful, be safe out there, Arnie. So let's go to AJ from Ghost Vexers Paranormal. Now, AJ has been to a lot of great places. He's been on my show before. He's been to like Nevada State Prison, Mackey Mansion. He's visited a bunch of cemeteries, but he recently is the one that caught a great apparition at the Nevada State Prison. And if you go on his Instagram, you can see it. One of the best shadow captures ever that I've seen, besides the one that I caught in my backyard. But other than that, AJ caught a tremendous one. So definitely go follow him. And AJ, go ahead, tell us your scariest experience or story or encounter, and then end with your handles. You got the floor.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do a couple that when I was younger stories. So when I was really little, I had first to set the story, we always had to put our stuff away at the end of the night if we were playing with toys or whatever. So we had a playroom downstairs. And so, I'd put everything away, go to bed, and I have this dream that I'm playing with, my toys came to life and I'm playing with them. And it was an awesome dream. And when I woke up, I had sleptwalked and went all the way down to the basement into the playroom. And I was laying on the floor and all my toys were around me. So that was pretty creepy. And then when I was like 20, my sister and her friend, like my parents weren't home, so my sister's friend brought a Ouija board over, and we're messing with it in the kitchen. And me and my sister had never used one before, at least that I know of. And we had one of them big Yankee candles on the table, and we're going through, and I really wish I could remember what we were asking and what answers we got, but at one point, like it just started getting really cold, and then all of a sudden that candle shot off the table and smashed against our stove into like a million pieces. And ever since that day, I have never touched one again, and I will never touch one again.
Oh my God. So let me stop you for a second, AJ. You're telling me that a heavy ass Yankee candle, like something pushed it like all the way?
It flew, fast. Like for it to, one of those glasses to break on the stove, it hit like the metal outside of the stove and just smashed. And I had never seen anything like that. And I hope to never see anything like that again. That was probably the scariest moment that I've ever had. And I think I had told you before that we knew that house was haunted growing up. And by the time I was 20, that was a regular occurrence, but nothing like that. That was terrifying.
And you guys don't like, do you remember what you were asking? Like, were you asking for something bad to come through, or were you just asking like, just kind of general questions?
Yeah, we were, they were younger, so we were just asking like normal life questions and hoping to get answers. Like there was nothing, neither of us knew what to ask, like evil or anything at that point. This was way before I did any investigating and stuff. But yeah, that was, and I don't think my sister's ever touched one again, but I think she would, but I won't ever. Like I don't even, really like being in the room when they're around. Because I think Arnie will remember, like, when we were in Florida, when Callie and Chris, I forget who else was using it. When they were doing it, I left that room and just kept my camera recording. And I swear, when they were doing it, the picture frame fell off the wall. Were you there when that happened, Arnie?
Oh my God. And
I don't remember.
you're
You might
telling
have
me
been.
all this. You're telling me all this, AJ. And it's like so funny. Just the other day, I was like, I want to get a Ouija board and I want to try it because I want to try it. But like,
Well, good luck with it. Just be safe. I mean, like, I don't think that stuff always happens, but all the stuff that I've gone through, it's probably not a good idea for me to be around them.
everybody's
It's
warning me in the
attachments
chat
forever.
to
But
not do it.
yeah, I mean, it's not bad like watching other people do it because I don't fit. If you're not connected to it, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, so somebody else that knows more might know, but I feel like it really affects people more when they're doing it than if you're just watching. But I'm not 100% sure of that. But I don't take chances with that.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Now, is that the moment that made you, when you were older, want to investigate the paranormal? Was that your ticket that was like, oh shit, okay, this stuff is true. So then that was your time of realizing it? Or when was your time that you realized the paranormal stuff was real and true?
I kind of knew it like pretty much ever since I was a kid because I don't remember if we ever talked about that the last time, but like I would hear my door. I mean, I would see my doorknob rattling in my bedroom as a kid and hearing voices and walking in the hallways and stuff in our house. And my mom would always say, like, because my parents had gotten divorced at that point, and she would always say, "No, that was just your dad coming in the house." And I'm like, well, why would dad try to scare me in my room, you know? And I was just like, I never bought it. And then she just told me, like, I talked to her about it this year, and she's like, yeah, that wasn't your dad coming in the house. She's like, I just didn't want to scare you. So she heard the noises as well, and my sister did too. But it
Oh my
never like
God.
bothered us or physically did anything. It was just always like noises and like weird things like the door. Like we would find the sliding glass door in the basement open some days, like when we would go down before school, and like the door would be wide open, and we were just like, and we had, like, I still think they do it. You know how you would put like the piece of wood there so nobody could really push it?
Yep.
Like, yeah, that it would be open with that thing there, and that thing would just be like straight up against the backside, and it would just be open. Like just
Oh
weird stuff
my
like that.
God, dude. Fuck that. Oh my God. Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that kind of stuff
wow.
happened to me until a couple of years ago, and I haven't really had anything like that ever since. Like I don't hear stuff like, especially at the new place we're at now, I don't hear anything. But yeah, that it was about 2 years ago. I think wherever I was, it stayed there because it liked it. Because the one apartment, I think I told you that it was a an old knitting factory that they turned into apartments, and that place was so haunted. Like I heard circular saws in the middle of the night
No,
in the
you never
hallway.
told me that.
Oh, see, I thought I did in that last time.
No.
Yeah, so and I'm standing out in the hallway hearing it, and I'm like, why is nobody else out here hearing this? It was so loud, and and I think whatever it was liked it there and stayed there because that whole building was just crazy. Here running up on the roof and stuff, it was nuts.
Oh my God. That would be nuts. No, you never told me that, but that's like freaky, the fact that you heard like circular saws and stuff, because
Hmm.
I'm noticing a lot of some things that I've watched, recently, and I'm talking recently, like the past 2 or 3 years. I've noticed that a lot of different places, not just homes and buildings, can be haunted. Like when you just mentioned the circular saw noise, it flicked something in my brain about Pearl Harbor, that there's divers that go down there and they can hear the machines running of like the engine of the ships and stuff that are down there. or they hear pounding of the guys wanting to get out that have drowned. So I don't know why that just made me think that, but I'm just learning that there's so many different places that can be haunted. There's woods, there's the sea, there's airplanes. I watched one thing on Paranormal Caught on Camera where where the tarmac was, where there's planes parked at night. This guy that was a security guard went in because he heard something inside this plane. And here, when he went inside the plane and it's just him, he looked to the back and there's like this blob. Oh my God, I'm getting chills talking about it right now. But there's this blob black thing in the back of the plane. And they think that it's like, how do I want to say it? It's like bad luck, because the next day they saw there was some wires that were unplugged and torn. So it's like this little devil shit that like gets into like the plane and stuff and like tears things apart. Like that could be the reason some planes go down and we don't even know it. It's like evil is something. It could be like a mass of something. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, they used to call them gremlins, like the old fighter pilots.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that it reminded me like a gremlin, like it would go in there and be and like pulling all the shit. And then that's how planes go down, because it's like a bad omen thing.
Yeah, those stories came from pilots like in World War II and stuff, that they said they would see stuff on the wings and stuff. Crazy stuff.
Right,
yeah,
just like
we talked about it before, we think that they can go anywhere they want. Like, I don't think they're locked in any one place. Like, because I think Virginia City proves that more than any other place. They're the same spirits are in multiple buildings.
Yeah, and that's what we had on the Paranormal Project when me, Amanda, Courtney, and Vicky did our stories with Virginia City. You remember you were on, we were talking about that one lady of the night, a nice way to say it, Rosie, where she was like in Mackey Mansion, but she's also at the Washoe Club. She's also at the other hotel, the one that Amanda covered. So but they can go everywhere because that was her town. I mean, she was well known there. But it always makes me wonder, AJ, and you always tell me this whenever you're doing more paranormal investigations, but I'm always wanting to know, like Rosie, take Rosie, for instance, at Virginia City. Can Rosie go to a different state? Like, can a ghost go to a different state, or are they bound to like the ground that they used to walk on? That's something that always gets me. And I want one day for someone to do investigations to kind of find that out. What do you think on that?
I mean, I honestly believe that they could go wherever they want. Now, I think they feel comfortable maybe in certain spots and they linger around because people go to those places more than others. So they kind of just stay in those areas. But yeah, I mean, if you can hear them talk out loud with your own ears, then I think they can do other things that we don't believe either. And I don't think they're just locked in one spot.
Right. Well, I'm hoping that we do, more investigating. I mean, Courtney and I are actually, we just talked yesterday. We have something really crazy coming up for everyone next year. So like real quick, just because I'm so excited about it, I have to tell everybody real quick. Courtney and I, she's going to fly in here to Tennessee in January, hopefully. And we're going to go around investigating Tennessee and Kentucky, like Brushy Mountain, the Bell Witch Cave, Harrington Hospital, and some other places in Kentucky and Tennessee that we're going to, try to find and do like a little trip. And then in spring, I'm going to fly to her in Montana. And then we're going to do some places over there. So we're going to do it for like our Patreon. So I am so excited because Courtney and I are like besties. I always say she's my bestie from the Westie. So it's something that I'm definitely looking forward to. And I think everybody else is, we're going to kind of take you on the journey with us. We're going to record it, have video cameras, do our podcast too at the same time. It's going to be awesome. But anyway, that's next year.
Because not many people do Montana that I've seen.
Right. And she lives on like haunted land. It's like Indian. Well, because Montana, AJ. It's like nobody's out there. It's like the Wild West, the Indians. So it's and I think she showed on our Haunts in the Cabin Instagram at one point, there was like an Indian burial grave out there by her place. So yeah, we're excited to do that. So, but thank you, AJ, for sharing your stories. That's, dude, that gives me chills just thinking about that candle. And it's so, I don't know how I want to say this.
So unbelievable.
Yes.
Fake, but yeah,
not fake.
Andy will tell you, I was scared when they started doing the Ouija board. That's why, because that changed me for sure.
I can see why. That's to know that something can move, and we all know how heavy a freaking Yankee candle is. Mm-hmm. Something that you can't see mass, pick it up and throw it. Yes, that is scary. That something is just being moved by something you cannot see. And we all learn just from being human beings that we touch to move, to throw. So how is that being, shoved and broken? So yeah, it is scary. It's a scary thought. But we are on to Kevin. Now, Kevin, as a lot of you know, is from the Where the Weird Ones Are. He's a wonderful host, a wonderful friend. I love talking to him. Anytime that I can find a reason to get him on my show, he's going to be on. Sometimes I'm just going to have a Farrah Shoots the Shit with Kevin show. So we're on that, right, Kevin?
Absolutely.
All right, Kevin.
So, can I just want to make sure you can still hear me? Because I'm not hearing anything now. Okay. All right. So, I guess I'll just start with my scariest story. So, it was like it was fall 2016. I just split up from my ex-wife. So I was in this house out in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere. Couldn't even see the neighbors across the street or anything like that. And if you know anything about Maine, all the properties are sectioned off through with rock walls. So this property was sectioned off with rock walls, and we had coyotes in the yard almost every night. And so this one particular night, my dogs are just barking their heads off randomly. And I wake up and, I'm trying to shut them up, and I look out the window and I can see this coyote at the end of my driveway. My driveway is pretty long to the road, and the moon was super bright, so I could see it fairly well. And so I'm watching this coyote, and then I can see to the left side. So the left side is there's a little bit of a tree line with a rock wall, and there's a field on the other side of the rock wall, and I could see in the field just because of the moonlight, but I couldn't really see in the tree line, obviously, because the tree's casting shadows and stuff, so it's causing a little bit of darkness. And so I'm looking over there, and I can see like a pack of coyotes just running up and down, like towards the main road, and then back like towards the woods. But there's this one coyote, and it's coming down the driveway. I'm just like, what the fuck is this coyote doing? And it started limping as it got closer to my house, and my dogs want to get outside. And so I go to the front door. So I leave my bedroom, I go to the front door, and I flip on the outside light, and this coyote like gets really close to the house and it's limping, and I'm just like, what the hell? And my dogs are scratching at the door and whatnot, and it's just whimpering and stuff. And then I like look out towards the field again. So there's this huge rock that's a part of the. It's like a bowl. It is a boulder. It's not like a boulder. It is a boulder. And um, with me just standing out there, because my kids and I, my kids used to play on the rock wall all the time, and this particular boulder is just about my height, maybe a little bit taller, and I'm 5'10", so the boulder is probably roughly 6 feet tall ish. Um, and I happen to look over in that area, and I just see these two red glowing eyes. I can't see like a figure or anything. I just see these two red glowing eyes, and I'm just like, and I was about like 2 seconds to opening the door to like try and help this what seemed to be an injured coyote. I know not a lot of people have had like positive encounters with coyotes in our area, in my area. But you know, I didn't. I felt bad, so I was like just about to open the door, and when I saw these eyes, and then instantly was overcome with this sense of dread, like the world was ending kind of thing, and I needed to somehow um, get the fuck out of there. But what I and like as soon as I saw these red eyes, my dogs just stopped. As soon as I started feeling that sense of dread, my dogs just shut up. Like I was no longer hearing them barking or anything like that, and I flipped my light off, the outside light off. I shut it off, and that coyote just like perked up and then turned around and just ran to the end of the driveway, and it was normal again. Like I could see, I watched it in the moonlight, and I looked back into that tree line. Those glowing eyes were still there, and the only reason why I know they were eyes and they weren't like a cell phone tower or anything is because they were right next to each other, like somebody's face would be, you know, like a person, like a face or of a dog, an animal, a bear or a person. Like they were close enough to be eyes. They weren't like above each other or anything. They were parallel with each other. So that's how I knew they were eyes. And I just went. I turned. I went to ran into my living room. I grabbed my rifle, sat on my couch. Both my dogs jumped up next to me, sat right down next to me, and it was like they knew. It was like my dogs knew exactly what was happening. I kept my rifle in my lap, um, and eventually I just fell asleep. I feel like I sat there forever, but my dogs literally, like, they were sitting. They weren't laying down or trying to get comfortable. They were literally sitting at attention next to me, on one on each side of me, while I sat there with my rifle. And then eventually, you know, I passed out, and when I awoke, I had this super kink in my neck. So that's my least favorite part of what happened that night, was waking up with my neck hurting because you know I fell asleep sitting up. So I just like put my head back. So I was basically looking at the ceiling, sitting straight up. So that hurt the shit out of my neck. So um, in doing this podcast, like starting the podcast and stuff like that, and looking into all these stories and whatnot, and listening to other people's stories, like this story seems to um, coincide with a lot of dog man encounters. You know what I mean? So I never heard of dog man until I don't know, 2021. Um, so like 2 years ago, and I started hearing all these stories, and I was just like, you know what, that sounds a lot like what the fuck I experienced. And that was back in 2016. So um, yeah, dogs are amazing. They're fantastic. I still have one of them now, and she's 9 now. Um, she'll most likely lick you to death before she bites you. But yeah, she lets me know when there's something going on. So that's another thing is so with that story, that I have another pretty fucking freaky one that happened to me recently. Farrah and I have talked about this situation. So I've been seeing shadow people in my hallway almost every single night. Yeah, yes, I'm native. Penobscot tribe to be exact, Stacy. Um, and so all right. So anyways, Farrah was on my show not too long ago, and we were talking about shadow people. So I told her that I have been seeing shadow people in my hallway. They never do anything. They're just standing there and whatnot. And then she consulted her pendulum, said that um, they don't want good things for me, essentially. So I cleaned the house, saged it, prayers, all that, the whole 9 yards, and they went away. I stopped seeing them. So this girl that I was seeing, she had we got to my house. I think it was like end of July, maybe maybe early August, not 100%. And so she left the house. It was pretty late, and I get into bed, and um I fall asleep almost immediately, and then I wake up to my name being called, and I just hear Kevin. Not like the mom from Home Alone, but like it was my name was yelled, um, and I sit up, kind of groggy and whatnot, and I'm just like kind of looking. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I see this shadow figure in my doorway, and like as I make out that it's a person, and it looks different than all like shadow figures. Like I could tell like more like details. Like I could see hair, like it was long flowing hair, almost like the girl that I was seeing because she had long curly hair. Um, and all of a sudden it starts coming at me, and I was in paralysis. I'm like sprawled out like a freaking starfish in my bed because, well, just for like visual aspects, I have a king size bed, so I'm like in the middle of this bed, just me and my dog, and I'm sprawled out like a starfish, and it's coming towards me. I've never had a shadow figure come towards me before, and I'm trying. I can out of the corner of my eye, I can see that my phone is right next to me, and it's like pretty close to my left hand. So I start trying to move my left hand towards it as it's moving, and it's moving kind of sort of fast, but not really at the same time. So the best way that I could describe the way it was moving was like C3PO. You know what I mean? Like its arms was moving like that, and like the whole like gestures of it was moving fast, but it just wasn't coming towards me super fast. And I'm trying to wiggle my fingers, and I'm just like I can't move. Like I started sweating. That's how scared I was. Um, and I'm wiggling my fingers, and then finally I just like break out of it, and I grab my phone, and I light my phone up, and I light the room up, and there's nothing there. And then I felt like I had just ran a marathon, and I was like struggling to catch my breath. And um and then I remember having to go to the bathroom. I was like, I really don't want to go to the bathroom after this. And it, I sat there on the at the foot of my bed for like, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes contemplating whether I should go to the bathroom. I was like, fuck it. Well, I don't want to piss the bed, so I'm gonna have to. Or I could have just opened my window and peed out my window. uh, but I remember after I walked out into the hallway, and I jumped out like a ninja, like I did like freaking kung fu chops into the air. I was like, hey, don't you do nothing. I'm just going pee. So, but yeah, those are the two. I've had a lot of weird experiences in my life, but none of them have really scared me. But those two situations definitely scared the shit out of me. Um, haven't seen a shadow person since that event now, and now has been 3 months. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to call it. But with that being said, like Farrah said, I am the host of Where the Weird Ones Are. I host people. The podcast is conversational based on on guest experiences with paranormal, supernatural things like cryptids, like Dogman and stuff, like the story I was just talking about. Spirituality, um, and conspiracies. Conspiracies are one of my favorite topics, because the world is a conspiracy in itself. But yeah, so I have a bunch of guests on. They talk about their experiences, and I conversate with them about it. I just don't let them tell their story. It's basically just like a sit down with a kind of like a friend kind of thing, and we just discuss the things that happened to them, and um, I enjoy it. This whole experience of doing my own podcast has actually brought me out of out of my shell, because I was definitely more introvert than extrovert, and now I feel like I could label myself more of an extrovert now at this point. It's Talking has come a lot easier to me. Especially I talk a lot about mental health as well, especially dealing with these kind of experiences, because um, just having somebody to talk to about that's not gonna like not disbelieve you or whatever, or try and shoot anything that you have down, um, is important. And I think we have a serious mental health issue, not only in this country but in the world, um, all the entire world. So um, yeah, as somebody who tried twice to end everything, I think it's very important. So with that being said, Farrah, thank you for having me on to tell my story, and or well, part of it. And I appreciate you, and appreciate everything you do, and your show is phenomenal as well. So, also, I love you. So there's that. And Arnie, you're the man. AJ, you're dope as fuck. Stacy, I also love you. Tracy and Jeremy, I just started listening not too long ago, and you're killing it. I really appreciate the your podcast as well. And obviously, I don't know your daughter Farrah, but so I can't really say anything to her. So sorry. But yeah, so that's it.
And I would like to put it out there, Kevin. I will happily be your next ex wife.
Well, how is that gonna happen if you're already married?
Okay, you got me there. And the whole, yeah, okay, you got me.
You cracked me up. I love you, Stacy.
I love you too. You are a stand up dude.
Can't hear you, Mom. Might have to do that where we back out and start it again with everyone.
We have some other hosts that can take over for a little bit.
You want me to take over? Oh wow, I don't know. I can start my my story. Hold on one. Sorry, I was telling my daughter to go on her tablet for a minute because I knew she'd probably be in here just ask me what I'm doing. Okay, so so I have two stories. They were both actually really like dramatic in a way to me and my fiance because he was there for both of them. I'll start off with the one that happened first. I know Mom's really wanting about the alien abduction one, even though like I don't know if it was an alien abduction. What I want to do is kind of explain what happened to him and I, and then ask everyone what they think it was. Okay, so I'll go with the first one. So I'm pretty sure this was you probably hear my daughter in the background. This was, I'm pretty sure, in 2019. Yeah, it was like right after my daughter was born. And I was telling her to be quiet. So 2019, me and my fiance and my first daughter, Luna, was just born. She's now 4. So I was, we were both laying in bed. She was in her pack and play that was right beside us, and it was bedtime. And I had a dream. Well, I think it was a dream. I'm not really sure. Where it's kind of hard to explain, but the bed was, I kind of had to describe where we were. He was sleeping. We were both sleeping in the bed, and he slept towards the wall. I was on the other side, so I could get up easily with the pack and play and do what she needed. And I had a dream where it was kind of like almost like a sleep paralysis. Like I knew everything that was, and it had never happened to me before. I knew everything that was going on around me, but it was also like a vivid dream. Like I knew the dream was happening and I just couldn't wake up. So I'm laying in bed, we're asleep, and I just have this really weird, like dream, vision, whatever, that these hands, like basically like Conjuring type hands, a medieval horror type hands, like nasty looking hands are grabbing me. Oh, I'm getting chills already. Are grabbing me from where I am in bed and pulling me up to the ceiling. And so in my head, I'm seeing these hands and I'm feeling these hands. I don't even like talking about it because I just don't. But hold on, I'm gonna pray real quick. Jesus, Father God, don't let I claim no negative energy from what I'm saying because I'm a huge Christian. I don't. That's why I don't like bringing it up because I don't like inviting anything or even talking about it. But yeah, so these hands I'm feeling, I'm seeing, and I can do nothing about it, are dragging me up to the ceiling. For some reason, it almost looks like there's a hole in my ceiling. And you can't see what is connected to the hands. It just kind of looks like a black hole and the hands are coming through it, and you kind of just see the hands are grabbing me. I really wish we could invite Zachariah in because he can kind of tell you what he was saying from his point of view. I'm a very deep sleeper, by the way, very deep. And he can wake up to a pin dropping. So I'm basically in my mind awake. I'm seeing this. I'm hearing this. I'm awake, but nothing I'm paralyzed. These hands are dragging me to the ceiling and I can do nothing about it. Nothing at all. Only watch. but I know the whole room is around me. I know Zachariah's right next to me. I know Luna's in her pack and play asleep. So I'm thinking, what can I do to wake him up so he can like stop this? And I don't know how to invite you in, babe. I wish we could. Can you send Zachariah this real quick, like, or something so he can get in? Because I kind of need him to describe what he saw, because I can tell. Yeah, he saw this. He was right next to me in bed because, like I said, he's a very light sleeper. So these hands are dragging me to the ceiling. I feel it. I see it, everything. And I have no way of stopping it. Basically like sleep paralysis. So I start freaking out and I know he will wake up. So I start screaming in my in my like paralyzed state, but my hands are to the ceiling. It's like, okay, so imagine someone's on your ceiling and grabbing your hands and pulling you up. My body was lifting in a way that only I saw. Yeah. So he said I started to groan, right? So I was like, and my body just going, but in my mind, I'm like trying to scream as loud as I can, but I'm basically paralyzed. And I was being